So this is what I call our reclaimed driveway, and the reason for that is you can see where the gate is at the top of the original driveway, but this part that the camera is focused right at used to be a second driveway. I'll just go around so you can see a little bit better. That was, you can see the neighbour's fence on the left. This was just another driveway, and we've built it up over time. But having said that, we've also used, it's hard to see with all the greenery, but this is all bathtubs. The reason for that is that the driveway was compacted gravel, really compacted gravel, because this house is from the 70s and it had been a driveway that whole time, I think. So we, for that reason, and also because of the gum trees that surround our property, we put pretty much everything into raised beds. When we started, sort of 18, 16 years ago, we did try raised beds that didn't, they were raised but they were still open to the ground, and we found we just couldn't keep them moist enough. The gum trees, I think, steal everything, and that's when we started moving to above ground beds. So there's a couple that are wicking style, but most of them are just literally bathtubs with the plug hole left open and filled with soil and compost. And we just replenish them a bit every year and go from there. You'll see I've got a lot of other tubs as well. Tubs of every size. I've got a lot of them second hand. I've told you about, if you haven't heard me talking about free goods, they're free goods Facebook pages. People just give stuff away, and we also go to our local tip shop where we get a lot of large containers that can be cut in two and are very useful. So the other interesting thing about this reclaimed driveway area is you can see the neighbours have got this big hedge at the side. Now, looking straight ahead is north. So that's west, and that's giving us shade. Originally, I was worried that we'd lose too much sun, but it's turned out that I think it's actually helped this area because it doesn't get that blinding westerly sun anymore. So this bit just thrives. In winter, I must say, it's a little bit harder, and I've had to figure out what sort of things will grow here in winter with not much sun at all. But in general, it's been just a work in progress getting used to it. So I'll try and explain what we've got here. This is some chicory, walking onions. They're the type that just keep self-sowing. A whole lot of coriander going to seed. This is all raspberries. They'll swamp us with raspberries soon. This tree here that's in a pot, that's just an old barrel that we've cut in half and used both halves as a pot. That's elderberry. So you can see the flowers on there already. Next to it is a cherry. There's that one. And I've got that in a pot, but it's open to the ground. So it's still hopefully got room to let its roots grow down further. That's, of course, rhubarb, looking extremely vigorous. Got a couple of composts in here, compost bins, but I'm going to talk about compost later. These are, they're potatoes. This is red currants. That one's just going crazy. What else can I show you? That's an apple. This is just, I love flowers and I love granny's bonnets, so the garden is a mix of indigenous flowers and edible plants. It's a red rhubarb, and this is an avocado. It's looking not particularly healthy, but look, there's all the leaves coming back. They're very sensitive to frost when they're just getting established, and that thing's fallen over. That's my frost protection. So that usually sits up around here when it's frosty to shade the avocado, and you can see it's been purposely planted under this bottle brush to give it shelter from frost as well. So what I've been taught is that as soon as it gets to 1.5 meters, that's above the frost line, so then we'll be able to stop sheltering it. But until that, I just have to be really careful, and next year try and not let it get burnt off at the top. So this is what happens when it gets frosted. Hasn't killed the plant, but it's just, you know, slowed it down a bit. Oh, there's another apple, another citrus, and yeah, that's our front fence and looking up to the road. So first, to look at the orchard. This is the view of our house looking down from the driveway. On the left here is the orchard. Now, I say orchard, it's pretty small by orchard standards, but we do have, trying to think how many fruit trees we have in there. It's quite a lot. I took the Jackie French approach. So Jackie French always says just plant things really close together, that fruit trees can be planted like, you know, a couple of meters apart from each other. And so I took that literally, and that's what I've done. And it seems to have worked really well. I mean, you probably don't get the yields because of cross shading of things, but I find that it gives really good protection, and just, I don't know, it's easy to maintain, and plus I guess I get more into a small space. So I'll go a bit closer to the orchard. We've got fig and a whole lot of artichokes, globe artichokes, and there's a couple of olives behind those big grassy things, hard to see, but they're coming along. We've got plums, nectarines, pear, beautiful pear tree, gives us lots of fruit, pomegranate, cherries, and then there's quite a bit of understory as well. You'll see there are those black pipes going over. That's what we use for netting in summer. We do find that if we don't put netting up, we lose pretty much all of the fruit. So these days we have a big piece of net that we put over there. As you can see, it's not professionally done. Nothing in this garden is professional. It's all sort of what we've rigged together. But and it's probably a bit hard to even see all the trees there, to be honest, but you can see I've tried to make it into a bit of a food forest. So underneath we've got lots of flowering plants to try and bring bees in. Borage just self-seeds all over the place. That's the one with the purple flowers. The red flowers is a salvia, and you can see there's calendula back there with the orange flowers. These at the front, that's the pink is granny's bonnets that I love. There's a couple of dwarf trees at the front. This one in a pot here is, hang on, I'm trying to get back so you can see the pot. It's the one right in front of me. That's a strawberry guava, and I love the taste of those. This is fairly new addition, but it's our outdoor bath. So you can either light a fire under it, or I've got a fitting that goes on an inside tap, and you can fill it up with hot water just like a bath, but it's outside. We've got a lot of things in pots, so that poor branch has fallen off, but you can see the citrus are really in bloom. Yeah, look, that's pretty much the orchard. As I said, that was the first thing we planted. We dug really big, deep holes, which was extremely hard work because it's so rocky here. Filled them up with heaps and heaps of compost and horse poo and planted the trees. But it did take a good 5 years, I reckon, for the trees to actually start growing. And since then, they've been just getting better and better and producing really well. I cut them the height they are just so I can reach the fruit. But I don't know if you can see, but there is quite a bit of fruit on the way. That's all the nectarines. This section of the garden in front of me, that's what I would call our zone 1. Well, most of the front garden is really, but in permaculture, that's the area that you're going to be walking past all the time, noticing all the time, and that's where you put all your herbs, things like that you want to just pop out the front door and grab easily. So most of our veggies are in there. I'll take you on a bit of a walk. Now, with all these above ground beds, one of the things I learned about or read a lot about over the years has been rotation planting, crop rotation. But I think that the thing I love about permaculture is that you work with what you've got, and that includes yourself. So I learned fairly quickly that crop rotation wasn't going to work for me. I'm a very haphazard gardener, and I tend to just plant everything all mixed up with everything else. So the only way crop rotation is going to work is, say, if I put only tomatoes in that bed, and then next season I plant something that isn't in that family. But I might have one tomato and one cabbage and one lettuce and all that. So I'm not a scientific gardener, so it's quite possible that I'm limiting the yield by doing that, but it's just how I do it. So I'm happy with that. Plus, I do think it does an amazing job of confusing pests, because we never really get issues with pests here, and I think it's because there's just so many things mixed up that they don't know where to head. Like, you know, cabbage moths. Well, there is that one there, but all the other cabbages are everywhere else. So these are all above ground beds. I think there is a wicking bed or two. Yep, there you go. So there's the water inlet for the wicking bed. Having said that, I just water them from the top anyway. So I find that I guess the main thing about wicking beds is the ability to leave them and not have to water them for quite a long time. My focus on water is creating soil and conditions that just keep the water in. So you'll see, for example, really thick level of pea straw, or whatever straw I've got. And the other thing is that in every bed I mix probably a quarter of it is coconut coir. So I'll show you that later. If you don't know what coconut coir is, it's just a fibre that absorbs water, and it absorbs a lot of water. So my theory is I water, any excess gets absorbed into the coconut coir and then pulled out by the plants if and when they need it. Okay, so you can see we're in between seasons here. We're at the end of winter, and I've put in some new summer things. This is a good example of me. I actually don't know what that is. It's going to be either a zucchini or a cucumber. I'm guessing it's a zucchini because I haven't put it near a trellis. But as I said, haphazard gardener, I just put things in and see what happens. These are a whole lot of potatoes that are looking beautiful. I always plant them in pots because the times that I've planted them in garden beds, I just can't get rid of them for years. Like, you're just pulling out potatoes forever. There's a nice head of broccoli. And this is the walking onion I talked about. So see how it creates this little sort of new plant at the top. And as it dies off, that just simply falls over like that and establishes itself, and you've got a second plant. So they just, once you've got them, you'll never not have them. Let's look around this side of the middle section. I'm loving all these peas. Don't know if you can see all the purple peas there. It's the first time I've grown the purple potted peas, and took us a little while to figure out how to use them. We were thinking they'd be like sugar snaps or something that you can just eat when they're young, but we discovered you have to let them go till the peas have become big inside them, and they're not that sweet. They're we use them in stews and everything, but they're not so much the kind of ones that you just devour straight off the plant. So that's evening primrose. Been there for a while. It just keeps sort of coming back. More summer crops. These are all the peas that have just, going beautifully. More purple peas. Purple peas. And broad beans. We grow broad beans every winter, and we love them. The kids aren't so hot on them, but Sean and I love them. This is what a broad bean looks like. So you just open it up. We never do the double shelling. We just shell them once. There's another kind of pea there, that one. So we've got a mixture of all kinds of peas. Some of them are really sweet, some of them are that you eat the peas themselves, some you eat the pods. And look, it's a little hard to show you around here because it's like a jungle. But more peas, more broad beans, more, looks like lettuce self-seeding, coriander, parsley, a tomato that's just starting off. We get things self-seeding all over the place. So again, all this parsley and lettuce is self-seeded, the silver beet, but I leave it because it's great to have. And the last bed, see, we've got a bit of, I was going to say aphids, but something else on that kale. So what I find with things that we do get issues with, say if we get a brassica that gets aphids, if I just leave it, it will be inundated with aphids, but somehow they then leave all the other brassicas alone. So I've gotten the habit of leaving them, not pulling them out, because I don't want to disturb them, so they go off and find another home. I call it my sacrificial brassica. And again, this is the fat one. That's a thin one off the same plant, so I guess it's going to end up the same, but they're just so sweet you can chomp into them like that. One of the ideas in permaculture is about using all of the spaces, going right to the edges and using the spaces that are in between every other space. So early on, I decided this path that's on the west face, it does have quite a lot of shelter from gums, but I just thought that's too good an opportunity to miss. So that became our berry path. It's going down a hill, but you can see there's a lot of raspberries at the top, and then going down to thornless blackberries, some loganberries, a bit of a mix. And they're all in, like I said, everything's in tubs. So these are all in a mixture of old laundry troughs, and that one's just one of those black plastic bins. As you can see, they look really healthy. The challenge with the berries is they look really healthy now, but once it gets to summer, they do get a bit blasted by sun. So I've really got to be careful to keep moisture up to them.